What's it like living in the rural areas of Clark County? It's different than city living. Hey, welcome back to the Living in Vancouver and Camas, Washington YouTube channel. I'm your host, Hannah Dubyne, and I'm so thankful you're here today because we're talking about rural living in Clark County, Washington. I know this isn't our everyday topic, but I think it's an important one to cover. And a lot of you guys that are watching, you're moving from other states and you're moving from places where you don't have rural options. You can't be on a septic, you can't be on well, you're only on city utilities, you're only used to city living where your neighbor is like this far away from you. So I've got a list of, I don't even know how many things to share with you that are important if you're considering rural living here in Clark County. By the way, sign up for our Weekend Happenings with Hannah email if you're interested in seeing what there is to do here on the weekends in Clark County. We put the best 4 or 5 events on there every weekend. We also put awesome new listings and some other fun things. And don't forget to connect with me on Instagram. I post more stuff on there too. Okay, the first thing I want you to know about if you're considering rural living in Clark County is that the utilities are going to be different. If you are on a true rural piece of land, you are going to be on a well instead of city water. Makes sense, right? They can't bring the city water pipes all the way out that far. It would be too expensive. So with a well, there is some extra maintenance, and you do have to keep that in good shape because if you don't, you're not going to have water. Another thing to know about a well is that if you lose power, if you don't have a backup generator big enough to power the well, then you're going to lose water as well. As well, get it? Sorry, that's not funny. A lot of the new homes these days, especially the higher end ones, will have whole house generators where everything's going to be powered. If the power goes off, no big deal. I saw one the other day. It was a very expensive house, but it was just a massive generator and your water would stay on. But if you live in an older home, there's probably not going to be a backup generator, and you need to be aware of that. You're going to lose water when the power goes out. Also, the good thing is that you don't have a water bill every month because you're literally just drawing water from your well on your own property. But if your well goes out, you have to pay to replace that, and that can be many thousands of dollars. So you kind of need to save for that expense if you're going to be in the home for a while. Another utility you need to consider for rural living is being on a septic tank instead of being on public sewer. So a septic tank is literally a tank that's dug underneath your home and it holds the solid waste. Yay, so fun. And you have to get that pumped depends on how big it is and how much you go to the bathroom. Every so often, you have to have the septic company come out and pump it. That costs money. If your septic goes bad, that costs money as well, but you don't have a sewer bill every month. There's also a thing called a drain field that is attached with your septic system, and that's where the liquid waste is going to go. It's basically going to drain out into a part of your property, and a lot of times you'll be able to tell where the drain field is because that area is more fertile. So you'll notice like a certain patch of grass that's growing much faster than the other areas. Something to know about being on a septic system is that septic is rated for a certain amount of bedrooms, and you can't just continue adding on your house if you're only rated for a certain amount. If your septic can only handle waste from 4 bedrooms and the occupancy that comes along with those 4 bedrooms, you can't just move in 10 people and expect it to hold up well. You're gonna overload the system. I talked about it a little bit already with the well, but your power is gonna go out probably more often if you live in a rural area. It's just something that happens, so having a generator is very common if you live in the sticks. Another expense you need to plan for, you could get some crazy big generator and it's tens of thousands of dollars, or you could get something smaller, something more basic, and it would be maybe a couple $1,000s or a couple hundred, but you should definitely have a generator if you live in the country. As I'm filming this, we are anticipated to get a little bit of snow this weekend, which is kind of exciting. So another thing you need to know about rural living is that here in Clark County, the rural areas are, for the most part, at higher elevation. So this would be up in Washougal in the hills, Livingston Mountain in Camas, Brush Prairie, definitely Battleground as you get up there, 𝐂𝐤𝐍𝐿, Amboy. If the city gets a little bit of snow, like an inch, a centimeter, whatever, those areas have a lot of snow. And so you should have some sort of 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive vehicle. I think you should have a truck if you live on rural property, honestly, because you're hauling around more stuff. But that is something to know, and you should be more prepared because of that. You should have a larger stock of emergency supplies and food, and you should also have more tools. So things like chainsaws, shovels, etc. If a tree falls on your property and you're out there by yourself, you need to figure out how to take care of that. So you better have your chainsaw, you better have some sort of machinery maybe to get that cleared away. It's really gonna come in handy, just trust me on that one. If you live in the rural parts of the county, things are also just a little bit more lax. The rules just aren't followed as much because people are more spread out, which naturally makes sense. People like to maybe shoot their guns on their properties more out there. Maybe they're gonna have livestock. They might have a home business that's technically not permitted, but since it's in the rural area, it's a little bit more lax. Speaking of home businesses, there are also lots of folks who will sell things on the side of the road in the rural parts of town. I love this. I think it's just so, I don't know, community oriented and just good-hearted. You'll see people selling eggs, people are selling flowers on the side of the road, they'll be selling berries in the summertime. I've seen a whole bunch of different things, and it's really on the honor system. There'll be a little box where you can put cash or you can Venmo using the QR code. So I think that's great. The last thing I want you to know if you live in the rural parts of Clark County is you should check where the urban growth boundary is and what the zoning is for the parcels around you. The urban growth boundary in Clark County is the area basically where they want city living small lots to expand. This would be, you know, more of a typical household where you look out and you see your neighbor next to you. If you are going to buy a rural piece of property right on the edge of town, it's nice because you're really close in, but you still get that rural feel. However, if in a couple years there's gonna be a neighborhood of 200 homes right next to you, that's not so nice anymore because that's what you were trying to avoid. So it's important to check those things and make sure they're not happening when you buy the larger piece of land. Of course, zoning changes over time. The urban growth boundary eventually will expand, so just know that. You cannot control your neighbor's property, but it is important to check. If you're thinking about moving to or within Vancouver, Camas, or Clark County, Washington, myself and my team at Dubyne Realty Group, we'd love to serve you. We help clients buy and list their homes every single day. So send us an email, a text, a DM on Instagram at Hannah Dubyne, and we look forward to seeing you next week.